Copilot Cowork is now available for the public, no longer early release. I want to show you what it is. I want to give you a bit of a caveat. I'll do that at the end. And you know how I found out? People ask me how I'm always on top of the news. Well, what happened was that we had an AI with Inbal club meeting, and one of the accountants was showing something she'd done with Copilot Cowork while it was still early release. But when she was demonstrating, sharing her screen, we noticed that it doesn't say early release frontier anymore. And we all looked it up and we all figured out what happened. And then all of us experimented with it. And then we shared what we've done. And so from that, I've got a lot of rich information I can share with you. Let's get in. So Cowork now lives here. I'm in Copilot and I've got the normal chat and I've got Cowork. And you'll notice here that in chat, it says new chat, but in Cowork, it says new task, because Cowork doesn't want me to ask it questions. It's okay with questions, but it wants me to ask it to do things. It's got connectors built in. It has access to OneDrive and SharePoint and Teams and Outlook and all the things. And so I can ask it to actually do things in those systems. So let's run the same experiment I did in Claude Cowork a few weeks ago when I shared that. And we'll do exactly the same in Copilot Cowork and see what happens. So here's what it is. I've got this folder with invoices and receipts, and I saved them here, and they all have these messy names that they had when they were received by email. And I'm asking Cowork, go here, and I'm just giving it my OneDrive folder link. This is a folder with invoices and receipts from suppliers. Rename them year, month, date, supplier.pdf. Then make an Excel register listing them all with date, supplier, description, amount, and GST, and save it in the same folder. Let's go. See what happens. It's starting to think, what's it doing? I need to set up a solution that accesses a SharePoint folder, renames invoices and invoice PDFs to a standardized date supplier format. Go on and on. It made itself a little to-do list. I'm going to open your receipts folder, read each receipt and extract details, rename the files, and build an Excel register. Sounds like a good plan. Oh, we see that it finished reading now and it started renaming. Now it's asking for approval to use Microsoft Graph. That's allowing it to go and actually rename my files. I'm going to approve. I could also always allow this, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna approve once. And what we're seeing is that it's going and renaming my files. We are speeding up this video. In reality, it took about 5 minutes, the whole process so far. All right, look at them, nice files. Next, it's going to have to build my Excel register. Let's see that happening. This is so nice. So you see, I did allow it in the end to go through all the files without me having to click them one by one. We see that it's bringing a skill. It brought its Excel skill that tells it how to work with Excel files, which is really nice. Skills are like prompts and capabilities that it learns, and we can manage them here under Customize, and they come up whenever they're needed. So Cowork, when it's asked to do a task, it looks at the task and go, what skills do I need for that one? And we can create our own skills as well. Let's say this is how I like files renamed, for example. You can see it's created an output, but I still don't see it in my folder. This is true agentic capability. It's creating the spreadsheet and we can see that it's now verifying, checking the formulas, verifying the register totals. Sometimes it would go and render a page to see that it looks like it expected it to. Okay, it's saying task complete. Let's see the spreadsheet. All right, look at that. That was a duplicate. Here are all my receipts properly listed here. We can see that it added a currency column. Claude did that too, which I never asked for, but it noticed that some of them were in different currency and it added up. I wonder how it did that. I'm going to check that. And it gave us some comment here saying that this one is a duplicate, which is true. I also noticed that it had some comments for me. So the two Accor files were identical, so it's said that it's a duplicate. The two Malaysia Airlines docs dated the same date, and it added seat fee or ticket to the file name to keep them distinct, which is really clever. Ticket and seat fee. That's very clever. All right, and it's telling me that it managed to rename the PDFs directly in SharePoint, but it couldn't upload a new file to SharePoint. So it saved it to my Cowork folder and I can pick it up and move it across. Okay, I'm fine with that. The next thing I would probably do now, if this is how I like it, I would ask it to make this into a skill. And I would talk to it about how I like my spreadsheet and what I want it to do with duplicates in the next time and all sorts of rules. and make it into a skill. And so next time I wouldn't have to go and give a long prompt. I would just go, let's do this, the invoice renaming, and it will bring up that skill and know exactly how to do it. How awesome is that? My video is heavily edited. The whole thing took about 7 minutes from start to end, and I just shrunk it down so you can watch it. It's not fast, but it does the job. So should you start using it? I say yes. I say we should all experiment with Copilot Cowork. Caveat coming soon. The first 2 things that everyone in the club did with it is 1, organize a folder, organize my screenshots folder, organize my receipts folder, organize my whatever folder. Just like it can rename files, it can tidy up the whole folder, subfolders, etc. Pretty awesome. The other one is organize my inbox. Somebody showed us that they were away on holiday and they came back to 2,000 emails and they got Copilot Cowork to tidy up the entire inbox. I used that too for my folder of emails I need to act on, which was a bit messy and there was some older things there, and it just organized it into subfolders that made it really easy for me to know what's urgent, what's later, what's related to this topic or to that topic. If you're going to start, these are the 2 things to start with. Now, caveats. So this is the announcement where Microsoft announced that Copilot Cowork is now generally available out of the Frontier early release. And they're telling us about what it is and how to use it and why it is more secure than others. And then it gets to pricing model. And they're telling us here about light tasks, which are 100 to 300 credits. And medium tasks that are 300 to 700 credits, and heavy tasks that are more than 700 credits. What's credits? It's how much thinking it had to put in it. And then they're telling us that each credit is going to cost us a cent. I believe that this is US. I am not sure. And it seems like there's no included. So from the first task, it's going to cost us a cent a credit. So that means that a simple task, whatever that is, a light task, would be $1 to $3, and a medium task would be $3 to $7, and a heavy task would be more than $7, possibly US. So what does that mean for us? Well, they updated this page since I saw it last week, and they're now telling us about how they're using multiple models to minimize the cost. So it chooses between different models, being Opus 4.8 from Claude Anthropic, Sonnet 4.6 from Claude Anthropic, and also GPT 5.5 for Frontier early release clients, but that will come to everyone. And we can see that when I'm in my Cowork, where we just did this example, that I can choose between these models, and Auto will choose the right bit. What I know from Claude Cowork and looking inside at how it works, and we know that Copilot Cowork is built on Claude Cowork, I know that even inside the task, it will break it into multiple small tasks and decide which model to use for what in order to minimize the cost. So given that Cowork is an additional cost and there's no capacity included in our Copilot license, they created this cost management area, and I can choose to not limit this monthly spending, which I probably won't. I will choose to limit, and we limit by number of credits we want to allow per month. And then we can limit each individual user. So one user doesn't take all the credits. So we're allowing that many credits to everyone and then a smaller number for each. I believe that by default, Cowork is turned off because of the extra cost, and your Microsoft admin tenant can turn it on for all users or for certain users. And here's what I think you should do. I think that if you're a small business, it's relatively easy to agree to give this a go and to say, yeah, it's going to cost me $100 to experiment with Cowork this month, and I'll learn about the capabilities and I'll decide what I'm going to do with it, what it's going to be worth doing with going forward, and I'll understand the costing a bit. So I will be able to then go, do you know what? For invoice renaming, I'm going to schedule this Cowork that does it every night, and I know it's going to cost me that many dollars a month, and I'm fine with it. For larger organizations, it's a bit harder to go, yeah, let's give everyone Cowork, and they'll spend $100 each, and there's 30 people, 50 people, 200 people. That sort of adds up pretty quickly. And so for them, I believe that what we'll do is have a small team, our AI champions, our AI leaders, our AI lab, and give them access to Cowork. They need to be people from different parts of the business, so they try different kinds of tasks. And from that, the same thing. We get together and we try to figure out which are the tasks that are really worth it and whether we're giving them to everyone, because I understand that in a 70 people firm, we're not gonna buy an assistant to every person on day one. So what are you gonna do with it? And if you're not sure what you want to do with all of this and you want to do this together in a group so that you don't learn alone, there are two options for you now. One is the AI with Inbal Club, which is online, and we literally do these things together. We demo them, but then we go into a co-working space online and we literally do them together, clicking along, sharing screens, showing what we've done. The other option, if you want to do a whole day in person with me together and go through the basics and understand a bit more and build a bit together, just a bit of a Kickstarter, and you can ask questions and it's all live. I'm doing one day in Sydney and one day in Melbourne coming up in August. So that's your other option. Get in. There's so much magic to be done.